Okay, welcome everyone to the Clean Technica webinar on resilience tools for climate professionals and activists. My name is Scott Cooney. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Clean Technica. Y'all know Zach Sheehan. He's their CEO and produces all the content, does a lot of the videos, and edits most of our articles. This one's a little bit different. Instead of a webinar that's informational and just a one direction kind of thing, today will be more of a workshop that will allow you to walk away with a personalized program to help you with mental resilience tools as you do the work, the important work that you do. And this is a program that I'd love to share. Anybody who you think might benefit from this after you get done with this webinar, feel free to share the video with them. This is Zach, CEO. Here at Clean Technica, our mission is to catalyze the clean tech revolution through high integrity journalism. We've been doing this for 16 years. We've been on the cutting edge of everything clean tech. We've started really covering solar, because that was the big clean tech back 16 years ago. That was cutting edge, much more of a mature industry now. So we have shifted a little bit and cover a lot more of EVs, micromobility, microgrids, and a lot of other cool technologies that are still clean tech, but that have a little bit more of a developing sort of ecosystem to them. If you want to subscribe to our newsletter, our YouTube channel, or our podcast, we have all three of those things, and we would love to have you join as a subscriber. So let's start by talking about climate change and the things that matter. I also want to encourage you, if you have questions, please throw them into the Q&A. I will get to them at some point during this workshop. I'm going to give you some time to work on some things for yourself. And at that point, I will kind of sift through some of the questions, the Q&A that we have. But I just wanted to kind of start off by saying, climate change is a tough industry. It's a hard space to work in and to be an activist in. There's a lot of ups, there's a lot of downs. We at Clean Technica have always focused on trying to spread the stories of good that are happening in the world, everything that is going on that doesn't get we try to cover, simply because there's so much great stuff going on and there's a lot of problems being solved. In fact, there's problems being solved that we don't even know exist. So there's a lot of people working on solutions to things, and that's great. So we try to promote those sorts of things. So here's the state of things as we see it. I'm happy to provide some links to some of this stuff if you're curious. But on the good side, EV demand is still very much growing, despite many of the headlines that you see that it's slowing. Relative to gas cars, it's actually growing quite quickly. So it's one of these things that it's all about how you tell the story. E-bikes are booming. Micromobility is a huge thing. We're electrifying everything. There's municipalities taking their entire grids off natural gas, one block at a time, one city at a time. We will get there, electrify everything, and then provide solar and energy for it. It is inevitable. It's a progress. Progress is always being made, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. It is what it is. In terms of the climate, yes, we're in trouble. There's definitely no doubt about it. A lot of challenges here. We have, the temperatures are soaring, climate conditions are ridiculous, big storms, et cetera, et cetera. We always like to say, we're pragmatic about it. It's happening. We're doing the best that we can. Always good to keep in mind that there are millions and millions of people out there working on this issue. In terms of renewable energy, there's some great stuff out there. Solar is, booming. One stat I saw just the other day was that from the invention of the solar panel all the way through 2022, it took that long for the world to produce 1 terawatt of solar power. It took then 2 years from 2022 to 2024 to produce the next terawatt of energy from solar. So the growth curve of solar is absurd. The price is way cheaper than most other sources of energy at this point. And so, of course, this is going to continue to grow just by market demand, not through anything else. Policies, et cetera, may slow or speed things up in various places, but it's an inevitable thing. And solar is here to stay and going to continue to grow. Heat pump technology, which is very energy efficient, has grown quite a bit. So that's a very hopeful sign. Corporate renewable energy purchasing and support has never been higher, is probably going to grow quite a bit over the next few years, as many of these companies have pledged, not just to their stakeholders, as in us, the customers, but also to their employees, that they will do better and they will continue to create a better place, a better world. But here's the thing, and so this is what today's webinar and workshop is all about, is what about our capacity to do the work? So our mental health, our capability as climate activists and as climate professionals plays a role in everything else that's happening. I don't know about you all, but there are times when things get me down and it's a lot harder to focus on my work. And so it just is what it is. Other days I'm very motivated, get a lot of stuff done, very hopeful, find something cool, plow into it, get a lot of things done, and feel very good about it. And I'm sure that's the same in every industry. There's always stress and et cetera. And I just feel like ours is kind of a particular sort of stress set. So here's the thing, the power of us to solve climate change is very real. But when it comes down to it, if we are stressed, then we can tip over the side of this mental ability to perform and to be motivated. So if you look at this curve, your performance and motivation to get things done is plotted on the y-axis, up and down. And so as you become more aware of challenges going up the curve, you get more and more motivated to do things. And so your performance is good and you're kind of interested and aware and solving problems and mentally strong and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, there is a tipping point. And at some point, you just become too stressed and you get to the other side. And then it becomes harder and harder and harder to motivate until you hit burnout. And so, I've done it. I'm sure a lot of us have hit burnout, hit a wall. Funny enough, one of the things I saw recently was sometimes when you hit a wall, you got to realize that walls might be there for you to take a rest on. So lean against it, rest, and then move forward after that. Okay. So here's the thing is our life's work and passion and climate is a marathon. So how do athletes train for a marathon? It's hard work and then this rest and recovery. So minds like ours solving this problem are running marathons and need the same. They need rest and recovery. They need periods of strong work and they need rest and recovery. So we'll get to that in a minute. But first, I wanted to tell this incredible story of this town that I cannot pronounce the name of in Bulgaria. It's a really interesting place. Due to some climatic changes, the place was being overrun by a river. And it's a small community. This river can quickly overflow the banks and destroy the place. And so as a result, very windy here. Apologies for that. As a result, the people of this town decided, if they could, to divert some of the water from this river through another valley. And so they went upstream a little bit and they saw this capability where if they could channel a little bit of water out of this river into a different valley, then they could kind of, at least put a Band-Aid and save their town from the inundations of these floods. All the villagers went up there and they grabbed their pickaxes and shovels and they started shoveling out and they started trying to create a new channel just to drain some of the water off from this main river into a different valley. And I'm not advocating for this as obviously a solution. This is geoengineering and it's one of these things, but just bear with me for a moment. So they're digging and digging and digging, and it's hard work and it's just not getting things done and it's hard to see the progress. And every now and again, the river will erode the hillside and all their work gets, plowed under. And so they don't get anything done. But at some point, they kept digging, and a little bit of channel water would go out and it would show them something positive and they'd feel good about it. And then they would dig a little harder and they keep going. And then, setbacks would happen and it just kept going like this, right? But the villagers kept going at it, kept shoveling, kept digging, to a point where finally they got a consistent flow of water that started going down this new trench. And then once that happened, the erosion itself started making it easier and easier and easier, right? So this is a completely made up story. I just completely created this out of thin air. There is no town called whatever that is, Kostrekt, Bulgaria. But the idea is that this is exactly what's going on in our minds. We have to rewire our minds to create new neural pathways. The way we see things is very path dependent. We have always seen things a certain way. We will always see things a certain way. We make certain assumptions. We see it in a particular way. And once we keep kind of digging that trench of seeing it the same way, it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And that channel becomes hard to divert. And so if you're going to try to change your mind, to rewire your mind a little bit, you have to really do the work of digging and creating a new neural pathway. I'll get into that in a minute. So here's one thing that it relates in terms of mental health, resiliency, and climate is to try and find this space in your own personal Venn diagram where what you're doing is possible. In the top left, you have the tools, the resources, the capabilities, the know-how, etc., to do something. On the right side there, it's effective. It gets something done. You're fixing some carbon problem, you're fixing some pollution problem. There's some effective, meaningful difference that relates from it. And then a third and equally important part of this Venn diagram is that it needs to be fulfilling. This needs to bring and generate some joy in you so that it becomes a very sustainable space. So the question for all of you is to think about what's going on in that middle of that Venn diagram. What does this area look like for you? What brings joy, is meaningful, and can you do? You have the capabilities to do it. Not everybody can solve a huge world problem. We can all solve smaller problems. And if that brings you joy and it's meaningful and it's effective, that's a beautiful place. That is a happy place. So the goal for today is for each one of you to walk away with a personalized program that will keep us on the left side of this curve where we are aware that the world is full of problems, but we're able to apply that Venn diagram, fix some of those problems, and keep our mental health sane and keep from tipping over into anxiety, stress, and burnout. Okay. So now is step one. So in this program, you can actually create, I sent out a worksheet for y'all to download yesterday. And if you downloaded it, great. If you didn't, don't worry about it. You can just use a pen and a piece of paper. And what you want to do is write down a couple of things here. First thing you're going to do is write down 3 to 5 things that you want to do more of in your life that you know are good for you to recharge your batteries. For instance, meditation, exercise, that sort of thing, right? I'll give some examples of this on the next slide, but for now, just think about this 3 to 5 things, whatever you think is helpful for you. The second step will be to write down 3 outcomes you're hoping for in your life. This can include things like a better relationship with your mom, financial security, growing a garden, whatever it is. And then the third part of this will be 3 mindsets you want to get better at. So for instance, seeing the good in people, or to be able to let go of things that do not serve me. Okay. And then when you have these things, any one of these 3 sets of things, if you want to post them into the Q&A, you are welcome to, and then other people can see and share and that sort of thing. So let's take a little bit of time to do that. And I'm going to play a little bit of music for us, just as like a little elevator music kind of thing. So let's do that for now. Go ahead and take your pen, piece of paper, and you can get started doing that. And I'll give you guys probably just 3-4 minutes just to jot a few of these ideas down. Doesn't have to be perfect right now. Just get them on paper. We'll go through a lot of the things afterwards. So enjoy. I'll set a timer for 3 minutes and we'll be back. Okay. Thanks for doing the exercise. So let's go into some details of how you guys did with this and some of the examples you guys wrote for some stuff. Definitely feel free to post into the Q&A if you have some thoughts that you want to share. I'm going to go to the next slide and show you kind of my list of things that we know are kind of good for us to recharge. So feel free to take any of these to use them, etc., in your own program that we're developing for today. So for me, these are things that I've looked at in terms of the science and the psychology of things, and no one argues that these are good for your mental health. Like these are like any clinical psychotherapist or whatever will tell you that these things are good for mental health. They do rewire your brain in some way. Meditation, self-care, expressing gratitude, learning a random fact and developing curiosity in your mind, forgiving yourself for things, thanking yourself for things, gardening. Feel free to take a screenshot of this if you want to use it. We can always come back to it too at the end of the presentation. But for now, I'm going to go forward and we'll get into the next step of this. So once you have this list, the next step for kind of creating your own program is to break things into daily and weekly items that you can do. And so effectively what you're doing is you're building a checklist here. And so you can use, again, that worksheet that I had, or just, again, a piece of paper, and just break out your 3 to 5 things and put them into a daily column and a weekly column. And the main thing to separate these is that something weekly is a little bit maybe more involved, harder to do. And so you don't want to set yourself up for failure by trying to create something that you do every single day. If it's something that takes a little bit more work, a little bit more effort, put it into your weekly column. Something that's daily, a 5 or 10 minute meditation you can do every day. Or if you feel like you can do it every day, you can post it into your daily. One of mine is to eat 1 meal with intention. That means one of the several meals I eat per day, I sit with, I really experience the flavors of, I chew, I kind of, think about what's going on in my mouth and like the chewing that goes on and like the textures I'm feeling and stuff like that. Really meditative with a meal. And, no phone, no watching anything, just sitting, really getting into the meal, smelling the meal before you, not snacking beforehand, really like trying to be intentional with the meal. So it's one of the things that absolutely it settles the stomach. It's great for digestion, etc. And 1 meal a day is very doable to do this with. So that's one of my daily activities that I do. So break those into daily and weekly setup. Are the slides being shared after? Yes. And there will also be a recording of this. Okay. Another attendee, one thing I need more of, exercise. One thing I hope for, better health and energy. One mental health habit to change, not feeling personally responsible for every problem in the world. Absolutely 100%. That is great. Yes, we cannot be responsible for every single problem in the world. There's too many of them. If you can solve one, you solve one. If you can solve 2, you solve 2. If you can solve 3, great. Keep going. But you got to be good to yourself. Thanks for posting those, guys. Okay, so this is step 2. So once you have these things broken into daily and weekly items, you're effectively building your checklist. So now you have a daily checklist and a weekly checklist that you can use. And so what this it will end up kind of looking like for you will be a grid of some sort where you'll have these checklists. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can kind of put down like the y-axis of your own like daily checklist kind of thing. And so this is something I took out of my daily checklist, and I just created a graphic for it. So every day that I meditate, I put a little check mark. Just for instance, I put that I did not meditate on Tuesday, just forgot, didn't get around to it, whatever, but did on Monday and Wednesday. Learning a random fact, one of my favorites. It's always so great to just start Googling random facts about things. It really does rewire your mind to be more curious, and curious people are happier people. And it's just like a known scientific correlation there. So you learn new things, you're more interesting to talk to at parties, and etc. So here's a couple of just random facts that I've had in my program over the years. The reading my tools, I'll get to in a minute, but that's, again, showing that I did it on Monday, did it on Tuesday, but did not get around to it on Wednesday. And that's okay. You forgive yourself for not doing everything every single day because it's impossible. The idea is that this is just like that town in Bulgaria where they're digging the trench, right? And so every day that I meditate, there's a new neural pathway being formed in my mind to help me meditate more, to practice, to be better at meditating, and to be more mindful of my surroundings, myself, my health, my community, etc. 5 things I'm grateful for. So that's one of my daily things. Try to just actively express some gratitude for 5 things. If those 5 things happen to include a person that I can contact, I will just text them or email them or something, say, hey, doing a great job with X today, grateful for you, blah, blah, blah. So you can see I put in there farmers markets, the people in your life, your health, your favorite cafe, Bill McKibben. On Wednesday, I was grateful for everyone working on the climate, for earthworms, because they're awesome, my mom's health, my e-bike, and Zach. Then the one meal with intention, again, Monday and Wednesday. Don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. If you missed it on Tuesday, you missed it on Tuesday. It's okay. It's a practice. And every shovel full that you get down a new neural pathway is progress. And so you have to kind of let go of the need to solve every single problem. You have to need to let go of perfectionism, etc. Yeah, and then thanking yourself for something. So this is effectively what your daily checklist is going to look like. Your weekly checklist can look like this. And this is basically screenshots from the PDF document that I sent you all yesterday. So you can download that and put your own program onto it and just kind of keep it at that way. But if you see here in the bottom left, on that download is a weekly checklist area. And so for me, what I do is I put this where there's a declutter something, get some acupuncture, and spend 1 hour at the community garden. So those might be good examples of a weekly activity that you can incorporate into your life. Again, those are things you wouldn't do. You wouldn't do acupuncture every day. You wouldn't try to declutter something in your life every single day. It's just too much. But the decluttering of something is great. I've been doing this program for a couple of years now, and my life is very decluttered. And basically as a direct result of this systematic once a week effort to declutter something. It could be my sock drawer. Doesn't matter what it is. Like it could be my Google Drive. It could be photos on my phone. It could be the kitchen sink, the drawer that you store silverware in. So whatever it is, go in and try to declutter something. Could be a small thing. If you have a little bit more in time, you want to do something a little bit bigger. But after the end of a year, you have decluttered something in your life 52 times. And if you're able to do that, your life will be very clean and kind of amazing. So I'm a big declutterer.
Hi, my name is Scott Cooney. I started Clean Technica to promote clean energy and other sustainable alternatives, and we've been moving markets. If we had a nickel for every time someone told us they bought their first EV, solar, e-bike, or fill in the blank clean energy solution, we'd be a cable TV channel by now. But we don't get those nickels. So unfortunately, we could use your help to reach a few more people. If just 1% of our audience chipped in a few bucks a month, we could hire dozens of great journalists and promote all sorts of climate solutions. It's easy. Just go to cleantechnica.com/support and sign up with a credit card in seconds. Cancel anytime. But we'll be sending out some cool perks too, so I think you'll want to stick around. With your support, we'll keep leading the charge. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the tools and mantras are the third part of this program. And if you remember from my daily checklist, so there's one of the daily checklist items is to read my tools. So the tools are basically just mantras, and you're rewiring your mind to kind of see things in a different way. So a tool, it's a mental tool is the same as a physical tool. Like you can use a hammer to hit a nail. You can use a mental tool to solve a problem that's going on in your life that's clogging your mind. Okay, so from your lists of outcomes and mindsets that you did earlier, you want an outcome that you create like a garden for yourself, or you want a mindset that you let it go or you don't get affected by angry people or something along those lines, right? So you can create your own tools and mantras that play into those outcomes and those mindsets. So for instance, on my checklist, my daily checklist, one of the tools I read to myself every day is reframe the narrative. Anything can be seen as a gift depending on how you look at it. So the narrative is the story that's in my head. We all have it. We all tell ourselves the stories. We all get into these loops where we just can't get out of this belief system that has us thinking a certain way. And that is, what psychologists would call a narrative. We have this narrative going on inside our head. And so if you can reframe that narrative, anything can be seen as a gift, depending on how you look at it. And so that's something that whenever I'm stuck in a narrative and I can't seem to see like that there's anything good from something, I try to reframe it and find a gift in it. Second tool I read to myself every day is to redirect any sense of why me to who else is feeling something draining and reach out to them. And this is a proven mental health benefit of putting others first and thinking of someone else who is in worse shape than you are. And you automatically kind of feel better. And then you're actually helping people. You're helping the world and you're doing something good as opposed to getting stuck in that loop of despair. A third tool, this one is one I learned after multiple relationships went south, is that if someone is hurting, ask, do you want to be heard, helped, or hugged? And many times people don't want you to solve their problems. They just want to be heard. Sometimes they need to be heard, but they also need a hug. Sometimes they actually do want to be helped. And so you just don't know until you ask. And so this is something I had to keep reframing for myself. And so somebody's complaining about something, I'll listen and then I'll say, well, do you want to be heard, helped, or hugged? And it's a great tool. So you guys can feel free to use these if you like them and take them or develop your own. Question here from an attendee, is there not monthly tasks or quarterly? Sure. If you want to create your own checklist and do monthly and quarterly, for sure, go for it. That's a great way to break things into a manageable kind of ecosystem. Totally up to you. All right. Okay. So, and then on that worksheet that I created and sent out to y'all, there's a section on the bottom right that is for tools. You'll see the little toolbox over there. And you can write some of your tools in there. And basically this allows you every day to just go and read them. And so a tool might be to focus on the good in people, compliment them on it, focus on it, etc. And this one I absolutely love is notice the 30 good drivers in the flow of traffic and staying in their lanes. It's a really good one. So anyway, so you can put your tools into that little section or write it in however you want in your piece of paper. But yeah, check this out. So you see the graphic there at the bottom. There's a car. You can see it kind of in the bottom left, kind of swerving. You can kind of see the car. It looks like a Nissan Leaf actually to its right is swerving to avoid it. So this is causing traffic and like people get all whatever. And if you're on your way to work and you're kind of stuck in traffic and you see this jerk swerve and almost cause an accident and he's trying to like get 3 seconds ahead to whatever, you're like, what an absolute jerk. What this person is putting everyone at risk to save 5 minutes of their day or whatever. And it's just why. And how many of us get to work and then literally cannot stop thinking about this jerk that was driving so terribly this morning? But do you look at this picture and not see the 30 drivers that are staying in their lane and they're doing good things and etc.? One of my tools is to notice the 30 good drivers, right? You see the one person on the subway that's doing something that you don't really love. Okay, that sucks. But did you see everybody else just sitting there reading the paper or, emailing somebody or whatever? Like there's so many more good things out there than there are bad. But our minds as humans were wired to see threats. We were wired to see threats because there were lions and tigers and, whatever else that were threats to us. And they were literal life threats. But our minds have not evolved the way the world has. We still think with that amygdala in that reptilian brain way too often. And so what results is that we focus on the one big problem and we can't see those 30 good drivers. We can focus on those 30 good drivers. It's like you take a deep breath and you say, you know what? There's a lot of good people in the world. So it's one little cool little thing coming from that tool of seeing the 30 good drivers. This is a great quote from a book called How to Meet Yourself. If you commit to this practice, these tools will start to feel more possible and true over time. You will begin to notice that your brain starts to validate these affirmations by filtering evidence of their truth into your consciousness. And it's totally true. Now, after years of reading these tools to myself, I now notice those 30 drivers. I now notice the good in people and I compliment them on it. And that makes them feel good. And these tools have rewired my mind in a way that now feels normal. So effectively what's happened is after years of shoveling, that river is now channeling over and I have a new neural pathway. Okay, we do have a journal. Clean Technica has a journal for this. It is on Amazon. If you would like to pick it up, it is $6.99. It will guide you through this exact program, step by step, all along the way. You don't need it. I'll be totally clear and honest. You really don't need it. It's what I have given you today is enough. You can put everything on a piece of paper. But the journal has a lot of extra information and has a lot of useful tools. It has reflections after every week and that sort of thing. Obviously, every dollar you spend with Clean Technica goes to support our journalism. It goes to support important independent journalism that continues to push the clean tech revolution forward with high integrity. It's what we do. So buying a journal on Amazon, one way to support us. There are other ways to support us, and I will point one of those out now here. So we have a lot of readers who chip in a couple of bucks a month. This is if you can subscribe once a month and pay $5, it makes a world of difference to us, not just for the money, but also for our belief that there are a lot of good people in the world and that people want the service that we provide. Journalism is not the highest paying industry. It is super critical. We live in a post-truth world, and we need these foils against the onslaught of bull garbage news that's out there. And we need to continue to spread good solutions. And Clean Technica does that. If we had a nickel for every time we heard somebody say that they bought their first solar panels, their first EV, their first e-bike, they changed their mind about something. If we had a nickel for every time we heard that in feedback and testimonials, we wouldn't need these $5 a month. We have definitely moved markets. We've reached over 500 million page views on our website since the inception of Clean Technica, and we're very proud of the work that we do. It doesn't just happen. It's a ton of work. So if you can go to cleantechnica.com/support and chip in $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can afford, we'd greatly appreciate it. So thank you for that. Okay. And then the last thing I want to say is that if anybody would like, you can join us in a 30-day challenge. So effectively, what we can do is if you have your program, you have your daily list, your weekly list, and your tools, you can join us and get a support group, more or less. So I will kick this off as soon as I have people's interest, and I will do a survey after this webinar to ask if people want to join this thing and give them a chance to do so. Effectively, what I will do is personally guide you through this program. I will be there to provide feedback and support. And then also advocacy, accountability. So basically what happens in these 30-day challenges is, I will say, hey, today I got 8 of my 14 things. My meditation was this, and I learned a random fact about that. It's kind of cool so people can share that stuff. And a lot of people don't share anything, but it helps them to see what other people are doing. You can be an active participant, a passive observer, anything in between. It's totally fine. So if you want to join a 30-day challenge, you can shoot me an email, scott@cleantechnica.com. I will either form a email group or a WhatsApp thread, or maybe one of each, depending on how many folks sign up. And again, we do this on a suggested donation of whatever you can afford to support our journalism. Every dollar that we make through this journalism support, the online contributions, goes to support our journalism, pay our writers, continue to allow us to do original research and publish 15 articles a day, a podcast a week, and a video. So it's a lot of work, and we'd love your support. So shoot me a note and let me know. Also, one other thing that we would love to do is actually facilitate this sort of a program, workshop with guidance, daily support, and integration of systemic change across the company for your company. So this is an employee engagement program. We can do this within a company, big, small, whatever. Teach this workshop, go through the things, and then support day after day after day to help people manage their stress, reframe their minds, reframe their narratives, rewire. And it's all that shoveling out, right? And it's work, but it's way better to do that work with people than to try and do it by yourself. So in terms of productivity and team building and employee wellness, there's lots of benefits to this whole thing. Thanks everybody for joining. Again, my name is Scott Cooney, COO of Clean Technica. I'm partner with Zach, and together we have been producing good content with Clean Technica for 16 years, and we have sparked a lot of joy within ourselves doing it, made a meaningful impact, and had the tools and resources to get it done. So we're happy to provide that service to everyone.